Hello, Lyssa deHart here. And today I am super excited to be spending some time with you. And we're going to have a really interesting conversation about something that I think is probably the number one reason why people need to get mentor coaching. And I don't know that it's what you think it is, but let's get into it. So there's a myriad of reasons why people get mentor coaching, and I'm a big advocate of mentor coaching. I offer mentor coaching as well as get mentor coaching myself. I think there's a piece around just, how we are paying attention to the work that we do. But let's look at the number 3 reason why people tend to get mentor coaching and see what you think about that. The number 3 reason people get mentor coaching is as an ACC coach with the International Coaching Federation. Every 3 years when you renew your credential, you're going to need to have 10 hours of mentor coaching. 7 of those hours can be group mentor coaching, and 3 of those mentor coaching hours need to be individual mentor coaching. But this is required for all ACCs to renew their credential every 3 years. And I think it's a really valid reason for getting mentor coaching because, you need it. And so it's getting mentor coaching is the way that you're then able to renew your credential. The second reason people get mentor coaching is not about renewal. It's instead about upping your credential. So when you go from your coaching school and you are like, hey, I'm going to become an ACC coach. I've got my 100 hours of coaching practice under my belt. I'm ready for my ACC. You've gotten your 60 plus hours of coach education and you're ready to become an ACC coach. You will have more than likely gotten your first 10 hours of mentor coaching under your belt through whatever coaching program you go through. Then when you move from ACC to PCC, you're going to need another 10 hours of mentor coaching. Same rules apply as when you're renewing your mentor coaching, 7 group mentor coaching hours and 3 individual at a minimum. You can, of course, always do 10 one-to-one sessions, but when it comes to mentor coaching, you can get up to 7 as a group mentor coaching option. I think this is a great option too because you get the chance to practice coaching with other people, observe coaching, and hearing other people get feedback, which I think can be so useful in the mentoring process because you have an opportunity to hear how other people are coaching and what the feedback is, because very few of us are the only person who's ever done a particular thing, and to be able to learn as other people are playing with their own coaching is such an opportunity. But if you're moving from ACC to PCC, you're going to need that 10 hours. And when you're moving from PCC to MCC, you're going to need another 10 hours of mentor coaching. So the second reason people get mentor coaching is because they're ready to go to the next credential level and they need the 10 hours in order to make that happen. But I think the number one most important reason that coaches get mentor coaching is this one thing. And I think it's really, truly the most important thing. And that is growth. I don't think that there's another way that we grow more clearly and specifically with our own coaching. How do we keep our skills sharp? How do we make sure we're continuing to align with the ICF Core Competencies? And how do we continue to develop professionally? I don't know about you, but once you start coaching, especially after you get your PCC and you no longer have to do those renewals, it is a really easy slide into consulting, counseling, mentoring, just having chit-chat, lovely conversations with your clients that are not actually coaching. So for myself, that ability to stay within the competencies is really, really important. And what I'm finding, and recently this has come up in my own group mentor coaching, where I'm having MCCs come to my mentor coaching because they feel like maybe they've drifted a bit and they're ready to hey, I need to kind of readjust and realign with the competencies. I think that's a really important reason because, again, once you get your PCC and you no longer have to get mentor coaching in order to renew, It is super easy to just slide on into a lot of different ways that we show up with our clients. Not that that's bad, yet if you're doing it unconsciously, mentor coaching is an opportunity for you to go, how do I want to stay in alignment with actually coaching and not moving into mentoring, consulting, counseling, teaching, etc. I think there's some other benefits to mentor coaching that maybe we know about, but maybe we're not talking about a lot. Honestly, transcript analysis does something for us that nothing else in the world can give us. If you and I are observing a mentor coaching session, even if we're taking notes, we're probably not going to be taking notes fast enough to be able to catch everything that the client offered to the coach or every question that the coach asked. So when you record your coaching, and this is regardless of whether you're getting mentor coaching or applying for a credential or not, when you record your coaching and run it through a transcription service like, say, Raynotes, one of the things that's incredibly beneficial is that you really can see on paper in black and white what the client offered you and what your response to them was in the form of what kind of inquiry. So the client offers you what it is that's important that they want to be working on. Did you even hear it? Did you go through an agreement setting with them? You can see that in a transcript. And honestly, it's a huge element of growth development is to really start being an observer of your own work. I think there are blind spots, and all of us get hooked by these blind spots. It was really entertaining. A few weeks ago, I was in a course that I was teaching, and I had shared a video of a coaching demonstration in that course. And somewhere in the middle, towards the end of the course, I totally got hooked by the client. She was talking about something that I know a lot about, but I was curious about how it was different in her state versus the state that I live in. And I got totally hooked by it. And I'm asking like an interesting yet unimportant question. Totally hooked. In the debrief, it was also entertaining, and this is how our memories work. I said to this client, I'm so glad I didn't get hooked. It would have been so easy for me to get hooked by your topic. And what is so hilarious is I totally got hooked by the client and her topic. And I didn't know it until I went back through the recording. Now, it still was a really useful recording for what I was trying to demonstrate, but it was a great example also of how easy it is to get hooked. And we're not even aware of it. So without a recording and without the transcript, I wouldn't have ever known that I had gotten hooked. And so mentor coaching is one of those places where it really helps us to explore not only our transcripts, but our blind spots, those places that we don't even know we've gotten like totally hooked. I think the other thing, and this is one of the things that's really important to me in my own work, is when I go through one of my recordings and one of my transcripts, and I'm really using the PCC markers to kind of click in, like, how was my agreement setting? What are demonstrations of trust and safety? How was my maintains presence or actively listens or evoking awareness, facilitating client growth? All of these different competencies, I can start to check them off in a program like Raynotes, which is the one that I love the most. And I can start to see, how am I doing? Where are the gaps in my work? Where am I not doing? And where am I not meeting the PCC markers? Where am I missing? And I think of those things as micro skills. There is a lot of the elements of coaching that I can just do in my sleep. I am really good at those parts of it, and so those come very easy to me. There are other places that are PCC markers and competencies within the ICF competencies where I'm like, it just doesn't enter my mind sometimes. And sometimes it's because, honestly, the conversation doesn't invite it. On the other hand, I'm not inviting it either. And there are several of them that are probably invitable. So, for instance, when a client starts getting really excited talking about something, what just happened there? There was clearly an energy shift or a tonal shift or a physicality shift that's happening in the client. Maybe they've gone from kind of being stern looking or frustrated or thinking through things to like smiling and being easier. And if I don't notice those kind of shifts of energy or ask about that, I'm missing an opportunity to really support the client to have internal awareness. But it's also then becomes a micro skill I probably need to be paying attention to. Again, may not apply 100% across the board, but I'm going to guess that more than one of my coaching demonstrations or coaching conversations would benefit from my ability to notice that, because it's a micro skill and I'm aware of it now, so I can be more intentional. And I think finally also this sense of directionality, and I talk a bit about directionality because I think it's so important. Where is the question? How is it crafted and where is it leading the client? So I know I've said this multiple times, all questions are leading, but where are we leading the client? Inside or to the situation? Is it a superficial thing or is it something meaningful and important to the client? And directionality is not just that we're headed in this direction, we're only focused on the positive. What I mean by directionality is it's the way that we hold the space so that if the client wants to talk about something scary, overwhelming, painful, past anything, right? Anxiety, not feeling good enough, imposter syndrome, you name it, whatever that is for the client. Perfectionism, this is another one that's huge with people. I'm not going to talk about perfectionism until I have the directionality that is important for us to be moving. So for instance, I was recently talking to a client, and in the conversation, the issue of perfectionism came up as a problem. Like it's getting in the way, it's causing them to be more upset, easily annoyed than if they weren't so focused on things being perfect. And I had asked, what would be different if that wasn't there? And it was this movement towards this sort of ease and joyfulness, a sort of goofy quality of just sort of having fun, especially in the arena that they were talking about. And so the directionality then is this movement from perfectionism and sort of rigid thinking towards this sort of light, fun, goofy energy. Now, what needs to be explored around perfectionism that's important for us to name or articulate or explore so that we can move towards this kind of fun, joyful, light goofiness? This kind of directionality creates a very safe container. We're not going to talk about the perfectionism and go down the rabbit hole of like, what makes you feel like a perfectionist? Why do you keep holding on to it? Has there ever been a time when you weren't a perfectionist, and why can't you do more of that? It's all under the auspice of what's of value here that would lead you towards what you want. So the client may bring up, this is a really old story. I grew up and I can remember being in third grade and having to try and do it right and being a really adherent to like doing it right and being a perfectionist because it was how I got praise. And so we're talking about it, but what about that is important for you to explore so that you can move towards goofy joyfulness, right? And in this particular conversation, it was like, I need to learn to let go of it. Like I'm making this too big of a deal maybe. And so how am I making decisions about like what's a big deal and really needs that perfectionism and what's a small deal that doesn't need it nearly as much? So this sort of directionality makes it safe for us to be able to explore the deeper issues. And here again, mentor coaching can really help us because there are so many places where coaches go into something sort of scary, tough, tight, painful, tender, uncomfortable for the client. But because they don't have it linked to where the client wants to go, they end up going down the rabbit hole of something really painful or shame producing or just very uncomfortable. And what we know about the brain is that as soon as my brain gets the sense of shame or fear of any sort of threat, really any threat at all, even if it's not a big one, my ability to comprehend and be creative and to remember things is is absolutely impaired. So this directionality makes it safer for me to explore these things that are uncomfortable so that it's for the purpose of moving towards what I want. And it's through mentor coaching that we start to see how our questions are pointing people in one direction or allowing space to explore between the two spaces, but for the purpose of moving in the other direction. And and ultimately, I think there's this issue of growth mindset. We talk about a coaching mindset, and when you look at the competency for coaching mindset, it really talks about this reflective quality, not just being prepared for our sessions, but really that we are reflective in the work that we're doing, that we're paying attention to where we're doing really great, but we're also continuing to grow and learn and develop. And so, to that end, I think it's really, really important that mentor coaching is a way that we continue to evolve our growth mindset, realizing that no matter what your credential level, everyone still has something to learn and to be aware of and to continue to work on in their coaching. I know for myself, I go through the markers or through the competencies, and I go through them and I know them in one way. And then I play with them for a while and I go off and I do my coaching and I come back to them and I go through them and I meet them in a new way. Each and every time I come back to them, I understand something slightly different, slightly new. And so the invitation to you is what does it mean to have a growth mindset for you, and how might mentor coaching support you in that? Hey, thanks for watching my YouTube channel. I really appreciate it. I've been blown away by the numbers of people who have followed me. The numbers are growing daily, and I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for liking my information, for sharing it, for leaving comments. All those things are so valuable to me. And please feel free to share with your friends and on social media in different ways if you think this information would be of value to other people. And if you haven't yet subscribed, I urge you to. It is something that will really help my channel to grow so I can continue to provide useful information to coaches. Thanks so much. So I hope this has been useful. I'm so glad to have gotten to spend some time with you on this video, and I hope to see you in another one.